All right, so that OpenAI outage back on December 11th, I know you want to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah,
And
honestly, I do too. I mean, 5 hours ChatGPT was down globally, and
yeah,
all because of what seemed like a really small tweak. We've got this really in-depth analysis of what happened,
right.
and it's pretty wild, to be honest.
Yeah, I bet.
So knowing how much you're into AI and all this, I
Yeah.
figured, why not? Let's go through it, break it down, see what
Okay.
we can learn from this whole thing. Ready to dive in?
Absolutely. I think it's super interesting, how this whole incident, this outage really
Yeah.
kind of shows up the complexity,
Yeah.
the stuff that's hidden, all the AI that we rely on every single day. We're just clicking away. It works. We don't really think about
Right. We don't think about what's going on
all
underneath
the
it.
crazy infrastructure behind it.
Exactly.
And then boom, this outage hits. It's like, wow, all this complexity just comes crashing down.
Yeah, it really throws it into the spotlight.
Yeah. So this analysis, it jumps right into it, right into OpenAI's infrastructure.
Hmm.
And they use these massive Kubernetes clusters.
Right.
Oh, man. So imagine Kubernetes. You'll hear it called K8s for short sometimes.
Okay, K hates.
But think of it like a huge air traffic control system, but for data.
Okay, okay.
So it's like it's orchestrating all these different, software containers,
Yeah.
making sure they work together, keeping things smooth, keeping everything running.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Right. And for companies like OpenAI, I mean, they're dealing with huge amounts of data, traffic,
Tons of it.
all those users hitting ChatGPT,
Yeah.
all their services. So K8s,
Yeah.
crucial.
Oh, it's like the conductor of the AI symphony.
Yeah, the invisible conductor, keeping it all in sync.
Right.
Okay, so what was it that threw this well-oiled machine, right? What threw it into chaos? Well, it started with OpenAI. They deployed this new thing called an observability service.
Okay.
Sounds pretty harmless, right? It's monitoring stuff.
Yeah.
Collecting data on performance.
Yeah.
Just keeping an eye on things.
Right. Right.
But and this is where things get tricky
Yeah.
because this seemingly harmless service, well, it had this hidden flaw.
Okay.
Worked totally fine in their testing environment, but when it went live,
Okay.
oh boy, it started making a crazy number of requests to the Kubernetes API. And the API, that's the central hub, right?
Right. It's like communication center.
All the communications flowing through there.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Oh, so almost like a traffic jam.
exactly, a sudden traffic jam.
Yeah.
But instead of cars, it's data requests.
Yeah, data requests clogging everything up.
Oh, so that's what brought the whole thing down.
Yeah. That's what started it all. So the Kubernetes API server,
Right.
it got overwhelmed by all those requests, started buckling under pressure.
Uh-huh.
And, things like Kubernetes, DNS.
DNS, right, like a directory.
Yeah, like a directory for the whole system. And
Yeah.
it relies on that API server. Right. And, well, it went down too. So then you have this cascading failure.
Like dominoes.
Yeah, dominoes rippling through all of their data centers all over the world.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah.
how one little thing
Yeah, one little point of failure.
can trigger a global outage.
Right, it's incredible.
And here's where it gets even weirder.
Weirder.
Okay, so the OpenAI engineers, they figured out the problem. They knew it was that new service.
Within minutes?
Minutes. But get this.
Yeah.
They were basically locked out
Locked out.
with the systems they needed to fix it.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That locked out effect, right?
Yeah.
It's like terrifying.
What was going through their minds in those moments?
I know. They knew the solution, but they couldn't get to it.
Yeah, like
So explain this a little more. What happened there?
that's the control plane, right?
Okay.
Think of it as the captain's bridge
Okay.
for their whole system, right? But it was inaccessible because of the failure itself.
Oh, so they're stuck.
Yeah, stuck between a rock and a hard place.
They know the problem. They have the fix.
But the very system they need to use to fix it is down.
So how'd they get out of that?
Well, they had to do some pretty creative maneuvering.
Okay.
It involved shrinking the size of the clusters,
Okay.
limiting, resource demands, and basically injecting more resources to try and bring parts of the control plane back online piece by piece.
Oh, wow. So like emergency surgery while the patient is still awake?
Yeah, something like that.
5 hours, right?
5 hours. Long process.
Yeah.
But that's why this is so important, right?
Right.
Because it shows us this design flaw. The control plane and the data plane, the part that handles the user requests, were too tightly coupled.
Okay.
So having them depend on each other like that, It created a single point of failure.
So if one goes down,
The other one goes down.
like all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. And that's one of the big takeaways here, right? You got to decouple those systems.
So even if the data plane, the user traffic part, has issues,
The control plane, the command center, that should still be working.
like a backup generator.
Right. Exactly. When the power goes out, you're not completely in the dark.
So, but decoupling these systems, that's got to be,
Oh, it can be complex.
yeah,
It involves trade-offs. It can be expensive. It can be hard to implement. There's no one solution that fits every situation.
right.
So companies really have to think about,
Weigh the risks and benefits.
yeah, the risks and the benefits.
So it's a balance between
It's a balance.
resilience and cost and complexity.
Yeah, exactly.
And we can't forget about this either, right?
Yeah.
Realistic testing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So their staging environment, the place where they test, changes before going live.
Mm-hmm.
It clearly didn't reflect the real deal.
It didn't match the scale
See all the complexity.
of their live system.
yeah.
So that's why this tiny change
Yeah.
had such huge consequences.
So even with thorough testing,
Yeah,
there's always the chance
yeah, always a risk.
that something you didn't foresee
Right.
would happen.
When it hits that live environment.
Yeah. And that brings us to,
Chaos engineering.
okay, hold on. That sounds interesting. But before we jump into that,
Yeah.
let's think about the people.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Millions of users suddenly locked out of ChatGPT.
It's easy to get lost in the technical details.
Right.
But we can't forget the human side of this.
People were frustrated, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Students, writers, developers,
Anyone who relies on it.
all those people.
Yeah, for their work, their creative stuff, all of a sudden they can't access it.
It really reminds you that behind all this tech,
Yeah.
there are
Real people.
real people who are affected when this stuff goes down.
Absolutely. It really makes you think, about how even these advanced systems, they can and they do go wrong.
Right.
And that kind of brings us back to that thing you mentioned earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Chaos engineering.
Chaos engineering.
Yeah, so it might sound a little, well, counterintuitive,
Sure.
but it's this idea of actually like intentionally injecting failures into your system.
Wait, so you're intentionally breaking things?
Yeah, but in a controlled way, of course.
Okay.
Like think of it as a fire drill
Okay.
for your infrastructure.
For your computers, basically.
Yeah. So by causing these little mini failures,
Yeah.
you can figure out where the weak points are
Gotcha.
and then, make things more resilient.
So before they cause a major outage.
Exactly.
So you're basically
Just preparing for the worst.
by simulating it.
Yeah, like a stress test.
Okay.
And in this world, right, where everything's so interconnected, these complex systems, we rely on them every day.
Yeah, we do.
That kind of stress testing.
It's becoming essential.
Oh,
So in addition to, decoupling,
coupling, right?
realistic testing.
Chaos engineering sounds like another tool
Oh, yeah, big time.
to build
More robust system.
more robust. And as we think about long-term solutions, right, we can't forget about things like
Like
redundancy.
redundancy.
Yeah, like having backup systems.
Oh, okay. Like spare parts for your car.
Yeah, exactly. If one part breaks, you've got a replacement.
So for IT, that's like,
Duplicate servers, databases, network connections, all that.
so if one crashes
The other one takes over.
seamlessly.
Well, in theory, yeah.
Right.
Of course, it's not always that easy.
Right, because redundancy adds
Complexity.
complexity,
Yes.
cost.
So it's always a trade-off.
But for important systems, I guess it's worth it.
Oh, yeah. Especially for sensitive data, essential services.
So it's all about
balance.
balance, resilience, cost, complexity.
Yeah. And user experience.
Right, user experience.
Yeah.
A lot to think about.
It is.
So many factors.
There's some other technical things we could talk about, too, like
What kind of things?
circuit breakers.
Circuit breakers, like in a house.
Kind of, yeah. They act like safety valves.
Oh.
So they prevent those cascading failures,
Interesting.
and then there's fault-tolerant design
So you're basically designing systems that
that can adapt.
adapt.
Even when things go wrong.
So not preventing every failure,
Right.
but
Managing them.
managing them gracefully.
Exactly. It's about making sure the system keeps working, even if it has to,
Scale back.
scale back a little. And as we rely more and more on AI, this becomes super important.
Yeah, because it's not just about websites anymore.
No, not at all.
It's about
everything.
Yeah.
Healthcare, finance, transportation,
Right.
failures in those systems, those are high stakes.
Okay, so what can we do?
That's the big question.
We talked about decoupling.
Right.
redundancy,
Right.
chaos engineering.
Yeah, those are all important.
But it feels like we need a bigger shift.
We need a change in mindset,
Yeah, like a more systemic approach.
a way to build resilience, but for the whole AI era.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, I think companies need to be more open
Open about.
to their failures.
Oh, like admit when they mess up.
Yeah, and explain what happened, what they learned.
So not just hiding it.
Right. More transparency.
So everyone can learn.
Exactly. That way, the whole industry can improve.
That makes sense.
And we need more investment,
In.
research and development,
Okay.
but specifically focused on making infrastructure more resilient.
Like, are there companies that are doing this well?
Oh, yeah. With companies like AWS, Datadog,
Okay, yeah.
they've got a lot of expertise.
So other companies can learn from them.
Exactly. It's like that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
If we can make everything more resilient,
It benefits everyone.
right,
So it's not just about preventing the outages.
it's about designing things so they can keep working, even when there are problems.
So graceful degradation, like we talked about.
Exactly. Minimizing disruption, making sure the critical stuff stays online.
Like that backup generator?
There you go. That's the idea.
Okay, so as AI becomes more and more,
Pervasive.
pervasive,
Yeah.
we have to start thinking about this more.
Backup systems, fail-safe mechanisms, all that.
Because these outages,
Yeah.
they're not just going to be inconveniences anymore.
Right.
They could have,
Serious consequences.
yeah, that's a little scary.
It is.
But it's the reality, right?
It is. The more we depend on AI, the more important this stuff becomes.
Okay, so wrapping up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
it's pretty clear that this OpenAI thing,
Yeah.
it was more than just a glitch.
It was a wake-up call.
Yeah, for the whole industry.
It showed us this vulnerability.
Yeah,
The foundation of AI, the infrastructure, it's often overlooked.
and we really need to focus on
Resilience.
resilience, yeah.
Reliability.
So we need to change how we think about this.
We can't just be excited about the possibility.
Right, the shiny new AI,
We have to pay attention to the systems that make it all work.
the stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah. Even though it's not as glamorous.
And that's on everybody, right?
Oh, yeah. Developers, engineers, investors, policymakers.
We all have a role.
We got to build a stable,
Yeah.
a reliable AI-powered future.
Okay, so a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, for sure.
We went from this one outage
Uh-huh.
to talking about vulnerabilities across the whole AI landscape.
That's how these deep dives go.
What's the biggest thing that stands out to you from all this? For me, it's that locked out effect thing.
Yeah.
The engineers knew the fix,
Mm-hmm.
but they were locked out of the system.
Right.
It's like, I don't know.
It's wild, isn't it?
It's wild and kind of scary.
Yeah, I agree.
Imagine, knowing the cure for a disease,
Right.
but you can't administer
You're
it.
helpless.
Yeah.
It really shows you, even with the smartest people,
Yeah.
best intentions, things can still go wrong.
In ways you don't expect.
Totally. And it really highlights those backup systems, right?
Yeah.
Fail-safe mechanisms.
Especially for something this important.
Oh, yeah, critical infrastructure. Got to have those safeguards in place.
Like an escape hatch on a spaceship.
Exactly. You hope you never need it,
Right.
but you got to have
In
it
case.
just in case. And as we get more reliant on AI, those escape hatches are
Question.
going to be even more important.
Definitely.
But it's not just about the technical stuff, right?
Right. What else is there?
It's about the culture,
Oh, yeah.
transparency, accountability,
So companies being more open.
open about their mistakes.
Say, hey, we messed up.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
This is what happened.
That's how we're fixing it.
This is what we learned.
So that everyone can learn from it.
Right. Builds trust, too.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's not just companies.
Oh, right. Who else?
Policymakers, regulators, they have a role to play, too.
Setting standards.
Yeah. For AI safety, reliability, all of that.
So it's a team effort.
Big team effort. Companies, governments, even individual users.
Wait, what can we do as individuals?
Well, you can start by asking questions.
What was it about?
The AI you're using, what's the infrastructure behind it? Do a little research.
On the companies.
Yeah, the companies involved. What's their track record?
For reliability.
Reliability, security, resilience, all of that.
So being an informed user.
Right, exactly. Not just a passive one.
Okay. And then
Don't be afraid to speak
Thank
up
you.
to the companies.
demand better.
Yeah. Demand better, support the companies that are,
Doing things right.
prioritizing resilience, transparency, all of that. And, talk about it.
With friends, family.
Yeah. Get people thinking about these issues.
Because AI, it's not just something happening to us.
No.
We're shaping it.
We are. We're shaping the future of AI.
And it's interesting, right?
What is?
It's not just about making things more reliable.
Right.
It's about the trade-offs.
Ah, the trade-off.
Like,
Yeah.
do we want AI that's super fast,
Super responsive.
even if it means
Maybe more vulnerable.
to outages? Yeah.
Or do we want stability?
Resilience.
Even if it means
It's slower.
slower, or maybe some features don't work as well.
Those are tough choices.
They are. And it feels like
Yeah.
we need to start talking about this.
As a society.
Yeah, as a society.
Because it's not easy.
No easy answers. There's no one solution for everything.
It's about finding that
Balance.
balance.
And that balance is probably going to keep changing.
Right, as AI gets
More advanced.
more complex.
Yeah.
It's like uncharted territory.
It is. We're figuring out the rules as we go along.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why incidents like this,
The OpenAI outage.
yeah, they're so important.
They show us what can go wrong.
They make us ask the tough questions,
Hopefully.
find solutions.
Yeah.
So wrapping up our deep dive,
Yeah.
I think the main takeaway is
What is it?
we got to look past the hype
The excitement.
about AI and really think about,
The infrastructure.
yeah,
The foundation that makes it all possible.
because the future of AI, it doesn't just depend on
Fancy algorithms.
right, it depends on
Robust systems.
reliable.
Resilient.
And building those systems, it takes all of us
It does.
working together,
It's willing to.
learn from our mistakes.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating conversation.
I've really enjoyed this.
We started with this one outage, and
Where we ended up.
I know, right?
The foundation of the AI era?
This is just the beginning, right?
Oh, yeah, this is just the start.
And that's where you come in.
Right.
You're listening, you're thinking about these things.
Ask questions, demand better.
Be part of the solution.
Shape the AI future that we want to see.
I love that. Great note to end on. Thanks. This has been a really great deep dive.
I agree.
Hope it's given you some things to think about.
Definitely.
Until next time, keep learning.
Keep questioning.
Keep pushing for a better AI future.